Just a little bit of theory. I'm sure you all know this, but just to remind people, the way to take colour pictures in the early days, the most popular way, was by taking 3 different pictures of the same subject on 3 different plates, each through a red, green or blue filter. And it was usually done with what this thing here called a repeating back, is one of the names for it. And you took a picture on the red filter, it fell down to the green filter, you took another picture, it fell down again to the blue filter, and you took a third picture. And then those 3 were developed to a positive, black and white, of course, but using various viewing apparatus or a projector, they were then projected again through the filters, and you ended up with a colour picture. So that is a very, very basic theory of how a lot of colour photography was done pre-1900, let's say. So this brings us to this strange object. Now, I bought a lot at an auction about 3 or 4 years ago now, which included quite several bits of early colour photography, including one of those repeating backs. But in it was this strange thing. Now, what you can see 4 different views of it here. Here it is folded up. Here, when you unfold it, you can slip in a film, a cut film or plate holder, half plate size, goes in there. With that out again, so we can see things. Pull out 3 slides here, and you have red, green, and blue filters. So clearly, this was made to take early colour pictures, but there was a few things about it that I could not understand. The thing is, there was no way to make the thing drop or move between exposures. So you wouldn't actually get 3 of the same picture through 3 different filters. What you would get is 1 picture with the top third through a blue filter, the middle third through a red filter, and the bottom third through a green filter. And there's no way you can make a colour picture out of that. So I looked around, I searched the internet, I couldn't find anything on it. I've got half a dozen or so books on early colour photography written around the 1900s. I couldn't find anything on that. I asked John Marriage, didn't I, John, who's sitting there today? And he wasn't absolutely certain, but he put me in touch with a man called Scott Bilotta, who is in the States, who I have corresponded with before. And Scott has got an enormous collection of early colour photography cameras. And I asked him, what's this, Scott? And he didn't know either. The only thing we've decided about it is it was obviously for stereo pairs when you look at the shape of the image would be. You know, I wondered at first if it was a panoramic picture, but it's much, much, much more likely to be for a stereo pair. So having got this thing in my collection and having asked around all sorts of different people and all sorts of different places on the internet, I couldn't find out exactly what it was or how it worked. And I put it to one side. Until about 3 months ago now, I bought this at an auction. I had a suspicion what it was when I first saw it in the catalogue, but I had to do a little bit of research to find out that I was right. And it's a chromogram. And what you can see here is obviously 3 stereo plates taken through 3 different filters. What you can't see here in the picture is around about here, here, and here are red, blue, well, initials R, B, and G. So obviously what we have is here stereo pairs taken through some kind of device to produce a chromogram. What you can't actually see until I show it to you when we finish is if you look at these little tapes here that join it up, that allows it to fold. And so the way it was used was over a thing called a photochromoscope. Now, I don't have one of these because they're rather expensive. This one belonged to a French collector that I discovered on eBay, and he allowed me very kindly to use it. I also have to tell you one that came up for auction last Wednesday that both Tim Goldsmith and I dickered about on for a little bit, but it went for a lot of money, so neither of us bought it in the end. This particular one was just called the Chromoscope, and it was designed by Frederick Ives, who is a man whose name crops up quite a lot in early colour photography. And what you did with it is this. You took your chromogram, which you've just seen, and you kind of draped it across these 3 steps, there, there, and there. And underneath each one of those is a red, green, and blue filter. And then when you look through the eyepiece here, inside there's various prisms, plane mirrors, semi-silvered mirrors, all that sort of thing. And it combines the image into one. And what you actually then see is a full color stereo picture. So that told me what my chromogram did, which I sort of knew, but it still didn't give me an idea of how it's actually taken. I have to apologise to Timothy here slightly because I am going to very, very briefly introduce a camera, but I must do it because it's part of the story. Because when I was looking, oh, sorry, I meant to show that is Frederick Ives putting a chromogram on his photochromoscope. So when I looked through various bits of literature I've got, I found Frederick Ives' chromoscope camera. It doesn't look anything special from the outside, as you can see, and this is obviously a mono one. But the book that I found it in said there was a stereo version as well. And if you look inside it, you'll see that light comes through the lens and then goes straight onto there. It also gets reflected up and across to there. It also gets reflected down, down, and across to there. And therefore, with one exposure, it takes 3 different pictures. There, there, and there. And each one of those would be for red, green or blue filter, wouldn't it? I'm thinking, therefore, that's what this must be. So it sort of semi-solved the problem of what my strange piece of colour equipment was. The only thing left out, oh, sorry, here again, I forgot to show you, is I've actually produced Magic Lantern, which showed them as well. I'm pointing it with my fingers instead of the point. Red, green and blue lenses, filters. So it could actually show stereo photograms or that sort of thing and project them. Pretty good, eh? So the only thing I wanted to do now to finish it off was to understand what my chromogram would have looked like. Well, obviously I haven't got a photochromoscope, so I can't see it in stereo. But what I did was I put it into Photoshop and I scanned each one and then I tinted them red, blue and green, as you can see there. And then still in Photoshop, I overlaid them. And this, I guess, for the first time since maybe 1898, is what that chromogram would have looked like in colour. So there you go. So the thing that I love about this is I had something which I came to a dead end with as far as research was concerned. I moved on to something else and it sort of worked its way backwards to my first piece of equipment that I didn't understand and joined them up. So I love that.